I sort of feel a little bit, I guess, like Nick. I'm here a wee bit under false pretenses, because when I look at the speakers and I look at the subjects, I see people talking about infrastructure and the rebuild and what's taking place. And we can't live our lives in a rear vision mirror. So what I thought I would do is share with you the experience that I have had, what I've done, and how I've got to where I am. Because in it there will be some things that I think will be recognised. Firstly, I am not a developer. I'm an investor. I lost 6 buildings that were either earthquake damaged or purchased by the government under compulsory legislation, and I lost all my income. And I had 2 choices to make. I could either fight or flight. I looked at other places to take the money, and I thought it was a bit churlish to take the money and run, because Christchurch has always been good to me. I've lived here most of my life, and I felt that I had a responsibility to put something back. It's interesting, you know, since all this started, that all of the people who maybe government and council have said they're going to flock into Christchurch with investment money to rebuild the city. To my knowledge, with the exception of the government, there's no external money. Every building in Christchurch today is being built by somebody who lives in Christchurch, who is either replacing income or putting something back into the city, and we are all nuts, I can tell you. Because things like developers' margins disappeared 4 years ago. On the 22nd of February, I was 2,500 kilometres up the Amazon on a boat. And we'd been to dinner, and I got back to our suite, and I poured myself a little eye sharpener before I went to bed and turned on the television. And the station was on CNN, and the first thing I saw was the Pines building, pile of rubble on the ground, and I owned that building, and I couldn't get off the boat. It took me 2 weeks to get back to New Zealand, and you can't imagine how it felt sitting on a boat looking at things that people in Christchurch couldn't even see, watching devastation for the best part of 24 hours on CNN. It was the most horrifying experience. When I got back, I started to try and make some decisions. Like Nick, there was insurance, there was arguments with the government and negotiation for sale prices, and we finally got going in September of 2013, and that's what has come out of it. I had 2 objectives. The first was the building would be the safest, because, as you know, unfortunately, people lost their lives in the Pines building. And the reason I bought it, in actual fact, is that it was built by the Ministry of Works for the Drainage Board and was supposed to be one of the most overspec'd buildings in Christchurch. So we all make mistakes. It had to be safe. It had to be a safe building. And it had to be completely earthquake resilient. The other thing is that I had to be able to drive past it in 10 years from now and still be proud of what I've done. I know we will finish up with an amazing city. Looking back over the last 4 years, there are many, many things that we could have done a lot better than we have, but considering the magnitude of the devastation, I guess it's been a learning curve for all of us. My site requirements were quite specific. I wanted to be on the river. I wanted a corner site with views, light, and profile for tenants. Every city needs a heart, but the city side of the river seemed like an impossible dream to me, and I think had I had a site on the other side of the river, I would not yet have started building my building, which is really sad. And what's happened, I think, is that you cannot legislate for people to do things the way you want them to do them. People will go to where they can do things, which unfortunately is one of the things that's happened in Christchurch. I wanted the site to be easily accessible in normal traffic terms, so between 2 one-way systems on a 2-way street seemed a very sensible thing to do. I believe that Christchurch is still a rural supply town, and car access and parking has been very much underrated by the authorities. It's hard to understand why I don't require 1 car park, but by law I'm required to put 38 bicycle parks in my building. It just seems... I can just imagine Deloitte's clients bicycling in with their files to do their tax returns. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I chose the site, and everybody in this room will know of Johnny Hutton and George Gould, so you'll know how easy the negotiations were to buy. I still paid too much, and they still think they gave it away. And then next came the design. A number of architects had done schemes. By the end, it was a clear choice that our architects produced a design that best incorporated the reflective quality and shape of the river environment. I thought it was stand out from the first concept. In fact, from my point of view, the finished product actually looks better than the renderings that I saw at the beginning. Now, the safety factor. We look worldwide for gold standards. It was just essential to me that we had a safe building. And the second thing, not only for the safety of the occupants, was the ability to get back into the building immediately after any other earthquake that we may have. I chaired a law firm that was on the 10th and the 11th floor of the PricewaterhouseCoopers building, and there were files that we never got out in the end. And we went up and down the stairs with sacks and backpacks carrying files for weeks to try and get stuff out. So getting back in was vital. So I chose base isolation. I heard Nick's comments before, but base isolation done the right way, providing you tie down the piles on which the base isolation is sitting, then you don't get vertical acceleration. So base isolation, I'm not sure how to, just tell me how to go. It's amazing to think that that building is being held up by 19 ball bearings, but it has the ability to move half a metre in any direction and always must go back to being vertical, and not even the lifts touch the ground. So theoretically, after an earthquake, you can walk straight back into that building and get in the lift and go to anywhere in the building. I believe though, how are we going? Are we on? I believe that we're in an interesting situation with the rebuild. I think in terms of office space, we're almost overcooked. I think it'd be a very brave person who does a major office building now. But I do think there'll be a second tranche. I think there's a lot of people who out of necessity moved out of the city. And as the city gathers pace, some years down the track when 8 and 10-year leases are getting towards the end, there will be another opportunity in the city for further development. I've been vocal on a number of issues, and one of the things that has really upset me is, personally, is the fact that I don't think we've been brave enough. We established legislation to do things in Christchurch, and we haven't used it where we needed it. It's still not too late, but I think that if we don't understand some of the ramifications of what we're doing, we're going to suffer in the very near future. We've got 3 major developments taking place, all of which will finish mid to late 2016. Nick Hunt, Tim Glasson, Philip Carter, and other stuff that's going on in the city. We talked about the Justice Precinct just a little while ago. Well, Philip Carter's got 600 car parks, and if the council are brave enough and immediately rebuild the Litchfield Street car park, we might have another 800. When all those are finished, just for the retail area, we will be 1,000 car parks short. When you look at the Justice Precinct with 800 to 900 staff, 240 car parks, and 1,000 visitors a day, not even contemplating the people who are working. And what we have to understand is that a city is an experience. Going into a city, having vibrancy is an experience. And if you don't get a good experience first time up, or it becomes difficult time after time to achieve what you want to achieve, you'll go somewhere else. And we're competing with free car parking, indoor shopping, And I know that's not the experience that a lot of people like, but it is an alternative that we will face if we do not provide good access, if we don't provide good parking, easy parking. And I'm on the parking subcommittee or parking committee, and there's a lot of work being done. But I just want everyone to know how vital this is. If we don't do this, we will stall the city. There are people spending tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars building buildings, and we have to support them to ensure that the people go to those buildings and spend money and work in them and live around them, and to do that, parking and access are important. He's going to stand up in just a minute. I've got my stopwatch on, I can see. The one thing that I would like to see, I said to Raph just a few moments ago, I don't think we sell Christchurch well enough. And what I would like to see, and if there's anybody in this room who can help me achieve that or help Christchurch achieve that, we need a room this size. And in that room, we need a model of the centre of Christchurch. We need every building which is designed and going to be built to be put on that model, and we need each one which is destroyed and deconstructed to be taken off the model. Because every person that I have spoken to who comes to Christchurch to have a look at the city for investment purposes go away with no understanding of what the city's going to be like. Now, many years ago, and some of you will know this, Bob Robertson did Pegasus Bay, and he spent quite a number of millions of dollars, and he had the whole of Pegasus Bay built, and it was out where the old skating rink was, which just shows you how old I am. And Harcourts were fortunate enough to get the listing, and we took people through for a month through that facility looking at that model, and we sold the first tranche of 600 sections in a day because everybody could see exactly what was going to be there. Recently there was I think it was AECon had a session out at Wigram, and all the polytechs around the country did little models, and it wasn't really a model of Christchurch, but it was their sort of dream about how it would be. For the whole evening, everybody walked around looking at that model. Wherever you go in the world, there's a visual ability to see what's going to do. And if we want to sell the city, we want to know where it's going, I think it's something that we should be investing in as a city. This room is full of serious decision makers, and I'm confident that at the end of the day there'll be some really good stuff come out of here. But I was told many years ago that to get what you want, you just have to do what it takes. And what we need right now is strong leadership and people making decisions that may be unpopular with some, but moves us forward to get the city really moving. Thank you. Thank you.